think my aim seems okay enough, somewhat. But we're back. We're back again today. And we're going to address what the breaking stories are with the manager, the managerial situation. What is there that is going on? What is the tone of discussion at the moment? I'll tell you what, as the thumbnail for the stream suggests, is a sacked man walking. Forget dead man walking. Man's a sacked man walking. And I believe that this is the case. I think Ten Hag is gone. I think he is a sacked man. It's just right now, I think it's just waiting for the appropriate time to let him go. But there's two perspectives, two POVs with the view to a sacking of Ten Hag, and we're gonna assess both sides, and I would like to see what people think about this situation. And one side of the coin, the heads part of the coin, you have sacking the manager now, and essentially bring in an interim to create enough of a response to see out the rest of the season, finish it as strongly as we can, but most importantly, find a way into Europe by winning the FA Cup. And I think that is exactly what the microscope is basically centric on now. It's focused on that one game, the whole season. And I said this against Coventry, right? I said this against Coventry. That Coventry game was game 1 out of 2 of season-defining games. Well, Manchester City is a very formidable opponent that's there to stop Manchester United from having any significance to the season whatsoever. Because there's no chance the direction we're going in, the teams we have yet to play in the league, with 3 games left, are we seriously gonna get Europe? Are we really gonna finish in 7th, at least 7th place? Come on now. No chance. No shot. No shot. Who could overtake us in that time? West Ham could overtake us. Bournemouth could overtake us. Brighton could overtake us. That's just, for example, if we legitimately don't win any more games this season, these are all teams that could end up overtaking us. So West Ham, Bournemouth, Brighton are about at least 7 points behind us. There's still 9 points to play for. At least for Man United, there is. I mean, Brighton have got another 3 games to go. Everyone else has actually got 2 points or 2 games, which, I mean, Bournemouth and West Ham have got kind of bad goal difference, but I mean, West Ham within six. If they somehow find a result in their last 2 games, then even they could overtake us. I mean, bottom line is Chelsea currently occupy 7th on goal difference, and come on, their games are a lot easier than ours. Much, much easier than ours. Big Fuzzy question or thought: if Ten Hag is a good manager and United got good players, why doesn't it gel? Well, big ups to your Anthony Herbert for the comment. Good to see you in here. Ten Hag is Ten Hag. If Ten Hag is a good manager and United have got good players, I look at it from a case of looking at how each of all of these different clubs are run. And what I mean by that is when we look at a club like Ten Hag's former club, Ajax, usually there is a structure in place, and in essence, there was a form of discipline, a discipline where the managerial position was, it was a big case of not undermining the position of the manager and their role in the team. For me, United have got, on average, player or position by position, when they field their best teams, United have got better players, in most of the positions than Ten Hag had is in his Ajax teams. But in terms of how each player behaves, in contrast between a player, how they behave at Manchester United versus a player and how they behave at another club, for me, they're worlds apart. Absolutely worlds apart. Sometimes a manager has a plan and the players will try to put plans into effect. They'll try to do certain things, play certain ways, and usually you see effort. What I would say is that maybe the closest you could say to, someone trying to implement style of play and players genuinely not being good enough to play the style of play, as of right now, is Ange Postecoglou. Because I believe with Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham, he's got way too many players that still don't play the style or fit the style that he wants to approach every game with. So how do you fix that? How do you fix that? Sell those players that don't fit the bill, bring players that do. So essentially you've got that world, which I think in most cases, in the majority of the current case, is kind of the situation that Ten Hag is in. There's still players that he has to play week in, week out that weren't doing the business for him when he was trying to play his way. And it was during pre-season in his first season, we saw what he wanted to do, and it was relatively good. I mean, he had academy players by all means, he was using a washed up squad, and they were still doing some pretty good things. They were doing some good stuff. They were playing some good stuff. Then you get to the competition, but then you realize, well, actually, some of these players, when it doesn't work, when you come up against a different type of team, different style of play, sometimes you've got to move the pieces around, or you've got to have players that are doing the job sufficiently. And you haven't got that with Manchester United, because you're basically trying to work with square pegs and round holes. Unfortunately, it's not going to turn out very pretty. So realistically, you need to be getting rid of those players that don't fit the system. One thing I've found with Ten Hag since he's been here is he has recruited some players that he would like to have in his teams, but he hasn't had anybody else leave it. They're still here. I mean, Anthony Elanga, is that really a fix? Getting rid of Anthony Elanga, selling him off to Nottingham Forest, is that really going to fix anything? Is that moving the dead wood out of the club? I mean, sure, he wasn't really going to make it big time at Man United, but for me, it's just it really depends on ticking all of these boxes in compatibility. And these players with Ten Hag, when it comes down to it, and I suppose it's like he's a coach. I'd say Ten Hag is a coach that was given a manager's job, and I suppose that's probably maybe where you could say that Ten Hag may be overlooking things a little bit in terms of how he's going about working with this squad. He's a coach. He came from Ajax as a coach, as part of a system, but he had influence over what went on in the business side of things. In terms of business, I mean like transfer markets influence. Ineos are trying to bring back a system, or bring a system like that into Manchester United. They want a coach to coach the team with then specialists in functioning the operations behind the scenes. Ten Hag would have to relinquish the managerial side of his position in order to make that work. However, in this moment in time, the coaching side of things, I feel like the road is like we've driven too far down this road to essentially undo some of the damage that's been done. That I think the bridges that were crossed have been burnt down, and you can't go back to correct anything before. You may decide, oh, don't sack me, guys. I want to enforce my Ajax style of play. Well, that's all well and good, but look at the state of that squad. I don't know if even the guys that you keep will trust you enough or will want to perform for you because of what's happened up until this point. So Ten Hag, I believe, is a good manager. He's made stuff work. He has made stuff work with Ajax, with previous teams. He's made things work. It's only until he comes to United where, of course, you have bigger egos. You've got to step up things. You've got to go up a couple of other levels to find new levels to your managerial game. But for me, there's too many net negatives about these two worlds colliding. A disciplinarian manager coming from the Netherlands to bring his style of play into a Manchester United system that has thrown managers under the bus. And I hear people talking about this. I do hear people talking about this, saying that it's a fallacy when we talk about players throwing managers under the bus. It's a fallacy. It's not true. It's not real. Some of those players do just need the right sort of manager and the right type of manager. But for me, you have to really closely analyze the patterns of behavior from week to week to week to week, game to game to game to game, how each player performs and the trajectory to which their performances go from week to week. And all of which you notice very constant high start. You think, oh, they're going to get better. They level out a bit. And this is all including the little ups and downs. But then gradually it gets further and further and further down the graph. You start to see the decline on the graphs. And I feel like every single player that we've ever signed under whoever the manager is over the last 10 years has experienced that type of graph pattern. They get the small incline to say, oh, hype, we're here now, we're a Manchester United player, feeling good. Then things stabilise a bit, getting a run of games in the team. Oh, a little problem happens, we start to decline. and we start to fall out of favour, and the fans start to get a bit frustrated. But hey, it must be the manager's fault, even though we see it from all sorts. We see it from all sorts of players, every player. And the thing is do I believe that this is all the manager's fault? Do I believe that players not playing is the problem of Ten Hag? Do I believe that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look at the people who were the bosses of this Manchester United system. Look at the people who were the bosses. They're not cutthroat people. They really, really aren't cutthroat people. Because when it comes to influence, there's a lot of people shit scared of each other at that club. I'm pretty sure there's loads of people shit scared of each other because of influence. It's like Marcus Rashford when he walks down the hall at Carrington, someone who just works there every day 9 to 5. He's probably like, oh, Marcus. I'm Marcus. Hopefully he doesn't shit talk me. I'll be in trouble if that happens. It's like there's people just genuinely scared of each other. I genuinely believe that. And that's kind of been the structure of things at Manchester United, though it's not met. Yeah, it's like the term that there's more to it than meets the eye. I think there's all sorts of psychological warfares going on inside the training ground that we just don't see, we don't hear about, that no media reports on it. Like, it's just how, pathological the mindset and the mentality is at Manchester United, and how players go about conducting themselves in day to day, and seeing almost the arrogance on the pitch without the actual ability and performances to back it up. And it's just madness. And basically, to summarize this point, it's just two different worlds from opposite ends have crossed paths, and where the good and bad have tried to wrestle and tussle for the overall betterment of the club, the betterment of the club is lost in translation. The negatives start to come out. And for me, I think that's basically what's happened, is that it's a tussle between the good and evil, but evil's prevailed. It's like you hope the manager has enough of an influence to flush out what's bad, and that overall it creates good, but it's not gone that way. Instead of coming out good, it's gone bad, and now it's furthered itself into ugly. See, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly of Manchester United. 8:30 tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. It's episode 17. And Richard Herbert, the real Herbert. This one, the real Herbert. You see, this one actually picked a sensible club. Not this guy's weird obsession about some North London club. North London forever. Supports a club that has a club song about strippers and hookers. Is what it is. Each to their own. United main thing is the defence is not good enough and fit enough to play. First line of attack is defence. And I think United need a good 6 new defenders for all positions and should have kept Dean Henderson. For the most part, I agree with most of that. I'd say 6 new defenders, probably not that many. I get where you're coming from. Probably not that many defenders. The Dean Henderson bit, no chance. I think Dean Henderson was too much. That he was too much of a, a soap opera character. Like you see some of the ways that he's acting or expressing himself on the pitch, and it's just like, not for Man United, not for Man United. I think David De Gea, keeping him for a second season and trying to replace him, that was a problem. That to me was a problem. Now, by all means, bringing Altay Bayindir in, may have been the ideal choice of goalkeeper to bring in to play as a backup to De Gea. And let's be real, De Gea's number twos usually the second choice goalkeepers to De Gea usually actually end up being pretty damn good and quite sturdy. So we lost out on a shot stopper. We did, and sold another goalkeeper. Well, actually, we sold a few goalkeepers last summer. We did. We sold quite a few goalkeepers, but yeah, Dean Henderson for me needed to go. 100% needed to go. And in terms of first line of attack, I suppose in the identity of Ten Hag and his style of play, yeah, I would say the defense, having the right type of defenders, is important to begin the build-up plays for how Ten Hag wants to undergo playing his style. And that we do have too many players still that don't suit that style of play, and and I do feel like we are sort of at the point here where, for me, we need to bring a guy in where it's not like the manager does not get, or the coach does not get left to his devices. He's not left at the mercy of a group of players. There needs to be, if you're going to bring a manager in, fuck off Southgate, stay the fuck away, and maybe to Thomas Tuchel as well. But bring someone in, put them in front of those players, and have all the big bosses standing right behind them. So every player that doesn't end up getting sold, first time they walk in to a pre-season briefing, that's the sight they see. They know what's up. They know there's no more Mr. Nice Guys. It's time to get down to serious business. And, it's imperative that they get that message, and that becomes the new norm of conduct at Manchester United. It's frustrating for me to say that these are things that are just basics at every other club. It's frustrating for me to have to say this, because we can't go chasing down Premier League titles or Champions League, Europa League, really any trophies. We can't, because we can't cover first base in putting together a team that fights for each other, competes for the betterment of the club, and actually tries to make all of the supporters, home and away, go home happy, go home satisfied that their team gave everything on the day. We don't have the sole core fundamentals of a team existing. We don't have a team. We've got a group of individuals. We don't have a team. We need to start from scratch. Ralf Rangnick, the prophet of Manchester United, was here, thrown under the bus, but he spoke the truth. It got him sacked, but he spoke the truth. He said, open heart surgery, 10 out, 10 in, is the starting point. It's not even a process of gradually replacing 10, selling 10 and buying 10. It's not a gradual process. That's phase one. If you talk about phases and try and break it down, phase one is not about going through finishing 8th place, 5th place, 2nd place. Answers on a postcard who I'm talking about. This phase is about absolutely gutting the ever-loving fuck out of that squad and building a team, building the foundations, the chemistry from scratch, starting everything, the big red reset button, hit that button, bring it back to square one. Ralph said we needed to do that, and even if Ralph got his job as he's not advocate, but you know what I'm talking about, the guy that is an advisor, right? He advises people. He says, oh, you should do this, I recommend you do that. To be fair, that was a bit of a hands-off role, but even then, with Ralph there, I still personally wouldn't have believed that he would have made all the difference, because he would have recommended all sorts of things, but that was still a fully owned Glazer club that still had Ed Woodward in charge, or Richard Arnold and co. So Ralph spoke what needed to be spoken. The club didn't want him anywhere near the setup because they thought, nah, he's ruffled too many feathers, both in the dressing room but also behind closed doors. But he spoke a language about somebody who wanted to build a project to win. And that's the exact position Manchester United have found themselves in. We are literally in the place where Ralph Rangnick literally said, he described Manchester United, what we needed to do. That was back in 2022. How are we 2 years later? 2 years later, and what Ralph Rangnick has said is still the forefront of the agenda. Rich, make sure you subscribe to Fuzzy's channel. He has had sleepless nights about Southgate joining Man United. I'm sure Richard had as well. Richard has had sleepless nights as well. But yeah, please do subscribe. The Tractor Boys are in tonight, Fuzzy. The Tractor Boys. Tractor. Big ups to both you and Richard, though. The Herbert Brothers. Big up Hot Fuzz and Anthony Herbert. Big ups to Stephanie Griffith. That's another one that's had some sleepless nights being a United supporter. Up to 4 likes. Good stuff. Keep it coming. Keep on going. Bruno and Maguire missing last night and didn't help, but that battering has been coming. We got massively lucky versus Brentford, and Bournemouth should have been hammered by them as well. Yeah, and just quickly to tie into comments that people have made about Lisandro Martinez being a really big missing piece of the dressing room. He's a motivator. He's somebody who gets players fired up. He's a leader. That's, when people talk about who should be captain instead of Bruno, there is a leader in Martinez. Some people say, Casemiro should be the captain because look at his heritage and look at his history. I said maybe as a vice captain, I wouldn't make him the outright captain. Not only because of a language barrier to start with, right? But you can mediate that. You can sort that out. There's plenty of ways to get around that. Casemiro was captain last night. That was the time we needed the leader to step up. That was one of the worst performances from a captained individual I think I have ever seen. Bearing in mind, we've had Harry Maguire as captain. He wasn't this bad. He wasn't this bad. So at least we know, Captain Casemiro is off the cards. We don't captain him. We don't talk about captaining Casemiro anymore. That's history. We rubbish that, scrunch it all up, and chuck it in the bin. Let's see, Rich is the better one. The better, the more likable. He's he's one of us. He's one of us around these parts. He's one of us around these parts, Anthony. So yeah, but anyways, back to the topic at hand with the managerial situation. Speaking about the two ways in which we veer this off. There's either the way in which we sack the manager now, and what could work is an interim manager comes in, they have a couple of Premier League games to get something under wraps. So this basically screw the rest of the league campaign, screw these next 3 games, use them as practice games to figure out how you're playing the final. Literally. 3 blank canvas games. The final examination is that FA Cup final, because you're not getting Europe through the league. You will not get Europe through the league. So maybe that's the meta to sacking Ten Hag now, is to prepare for the final and put all the eggs in that basket. Risky, but you put all the eggs in that basket to get a result so that we have a foot in Europe. That's the only thing that I can think of as a reasonable thing to do. If but then again, that's us trying to bank on it. As I've said, really risky. All the eggs into one basket. The other alternative is stick with the manager until after the FA Cup, and then you make the decision to change. Supposedly, word is, as per Hurst Class on Twitter, he says that Erik ten Hag is expected to remain in charge of Manchester United for Sunday's game against Arsenal. It is also likely that he will be at the helm for the rest of the season, which ends May 25th, when United face Man City in the FA Cup final. It is also said that Ten Hag is likely to be sacked at the end of the season, despite winning an FA Cup. So even if he's, even if he wins the FA Cup, he'll still be out the door. And maybe that's the way to go. I mean, it does mean that we are in for some really, really painful 3 to 4 games. Because, I mean, I don't know if Manchester United will turn up for the FA Cup final, considering the last season we didn't. The Gundogan double, the double dagger from Gundogan. See something about Dave Brailsford. Same old story. United have weakest midfield in Premier League. 2 number 10s in Mountain Ericsson last night. Plus minor is an 8, not a 6. Well, yeah, we haven't really got an established defensive midfield, which, we need to protect the centre backs. But then you have a midfielder playing as one of the centre backs, and then your actual centre back in the team failed, bearing in mind he failed his fitness test before the game. So any logical club would see those test results and go, hey, Johnny, guess what? You get this weekend off. You get this day off. You are not fit to even be in the matchday squad. He still decided, you need me. I'm the closest to fitness as far as a centre back goes, and I will put on the shirt. I will get on the pitch. Fair play to him in playing through bad fitness. Not injured, but he's got bad fitness. He wasn't fit enough to play that game. He still played it. He still got onto the pitch. I did read Ten Hag will be the manager in the FA Cup final. Yeah, so I think that's probably the way that they're going to go with that there. Can't afford any more injuries. Imagine AWB and Delo get injured next. If they get injured, then it's academy. Literally, we're going to the under 18s. Under 18s, under 21s, we're bringing all of them up. Seriously, it's going to look like an academy. It's going to look like a pre-season lineup. It really, really is. And we're just going to be sat there saying, yeah, but that's the best we can do. Listen, whoever the medical team are at Manchester United and the fitness team are, sack them all. Sack the entire department. Break it off. Stick the NHS in there. Stick the NHS in there. Even the NHS could keep those players fitter than our medical department. Christ almighty. It's like with the reports talking about about Ineos being frustrated about the low standards in all areas of the club. Well, yeah, no wonder. The standards of the medical department are seriously, seriously low. It's no it's no wonder. It really, really is no wonder. Just going to quickly read what this news forum about Sir Dave Brailsford is. So apparently Sir Dave Brailsford is preparing to take a more withdrawn role at Manchester United. The timing of Brailsford stepping back could depend on Dan Ashworth's arbitration battle with Newcastle, which will determine how soon he can start work as United's new sporting director. So people say, yeah, that Brailsford's already seen enough. He's already had enough. He's done. He saw that Palace game and thought, fuck it, I'm out. Oh, Christ almighty. Imagine if that is the case. Feel sorry for Martinez and Højlund, two good players in that team. That needs a revamp and fast. Yeah, there's players in that team that I do think should be given the opportunity to play in, perhaps a new system under a new manager, but with practically a whole new team around them. I think that's probably the only combination really that's possible right now in order to make anything work. So, yeah, last year we had a stronger midfield. Fred and Sabitzer could at least tackle, and why we loaned out Hannibal, I don't get it. To be fair, Hannibal did have a huge amount of fight every time he did play on the pitch, so that's a reasonable assessment. 5 likes, nice, good stuff. Keep them coming. But you guys, let me know what you would do. Tell me in chat, what would you do if you're in this situation? What would you do? Sack Ten Hag now and use an interim to prepare the team to be more defensive, to contain or do whatever for the FA Cup final as the banking on getting into Europe that way, or stick with the manager, or stick with Ten Hag now to sack him regardless at the end of the season? What option would you choose? let me know in the chat, or if you're watching on playback as well, drop your thoughts about that in the comments section. Apparently, Manchester United staff recently told in briefing that selling Mason Greenwood is the club's number one priority. Okay, not necessarily news to me, but yeah. Lisandro Martinez has his sights set on being fit for the FA Cup final against Manchester City at Wembley on May 25th, and hopes to get some minutes under his belt in the remaining 3 Premier League games. So, are we saying Martinez could be fit for Arsenal? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me? He could make it into the matchday squad for Arsenal. Quite possible. Hopefully, if he does come back, he doesn't get any aggravation. Hopefully, he can actually make it back to a matchday squad without getting injured beforehand. Declan Rice and Partey, a great solid base for your team. Absolutely. Pointless changing the manager, see it out to the end of the season. Yeah, probably. I mean, I tell you what, Ten Hag in cup games, I don't know. I don't know. There's a possibility that we somehow we just shit out a result against City. I don't know how we're going to do it, but yes, definitely a good partnership in that midfield. And then you've got a proper creator in Martin Odegaard in front of those two as well. So no shortness in quality, balance. A good balance in that midfield. Apparently, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is at the Parc des Princes tonight watching PSG versus Borussia Dortmund. What the fuck? Why is he there? What are you doing? Bit of a weird one. But yeah, still 0-0 at that game. Half time. Dortmund currently the favourites to go through with their 1-0 tie advantage. Santi JFM is absolutely wetting the bed about Southgate being the next Manchester United manager as well, which he is full of shit. He is full of shit. No chance. No chance, because then the Thomas Tuchel stories would go away, and they're not. The Thomas Tuchel story is not going away. The Southgate stories only really come up when it's just to try and rub salt in the wounds. Literally, I think they just do it deliberately. I genuinely do. But anyways, guys, in the comment section. So yeah, see, this was then an hour beforehand from Pete Hall via Plus iPaper Sport. Thomas Tuchel is leading candidate to become the new Manchester United manager this summer, with Erik ten Hag widely expected to be sacked at the end of the season, even if he wins the FA Cup. The Udenza follows up with this: Graham Potter and Ruben Amorim are the other two candidates for the job. So Amorim, I'd take Amorim. I would. He could do an Amorim job. Haha. Yeah, it's probably gonna get me cancelled, but fuck it. Who cares? Who cares? Me making a dirty joke. Who cares? Erik ten Hag no longer going to Bayern. They watched Crystal Palace dismantle Manchester United last night and thought, nah, we're already losing 3-1 to Stuttgart. We don't need to lose 6-1 to Stuttgart. We don't need to lose to Bochum, however it is you pronounce them. But anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up the show there. Big ups to everybody for tuning in. Appreciate the love and support, and big ups to those of you who have liked the stream. If you're watching on playback, please continue the upward trend. Incline the trajectory of the channel. Oh, for God's sakes, people making a joke about Solskjaer being a bloody... Yeah, I don't even know what... They're making a Champions League joke about Solskjaer and PSG, but yeah. Yeah, we're dusted. But anyways, thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll be back again tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. With the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Show, episode 17. Will feature myself, Early Doors Football TV, and also Anthony Herbert in the chat. There he is. And yeah, so do be sure to join us back again, same time tomorrow. 8:30, well, not same time, but 8:30 p.m. tomorrow. And yeah, it shall be an interesting show. I think I'll be so far past ugly. I mean, fuck me. I'm so ugly. I might have a third eye. I might have an eye up here. My nose is probably going to be somewhere over here. I'm going to have an ear where my mouth is, and my mouth is going to be on the back of my head. I'm going to be really fucking ugly. But that's just the way it is. That's just how, it's the belly of the beast. But anyways, thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesdays. And we'll be back again tomorrow for the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Take care, people, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.